What's the most embarrassing way you've tried to impress a guy or girl you were interested in? I took and pretended to struggle with intro to college calculus just to get in close with this girl. Didn't really work since one of her friends ended up being a girl I had tutored in linear algebra. FIS 123 was a brilliant freshman going to school on a math scholarship who falls for a beautiful math whiz in intro calculus class. Although he understands everything, he hires her as a tutor as an excuse to see her only to discover that he used to tutor her best friend. Will they end up together? Will she find out he lied? Will they pass intro to calculus? Offer Grace as FIS 123. Emma Stone as this girl. And Neil Patrick Harris as the cool calculus professor. In You Plus Me Equals Love. Rated PG-13. Coming this fall. Love makes smart people dumb. This girl I liked was pointing at something in the dark. In a theater. For some reason I had the urge to stroke her finger. Didn't end well. When I was 9 or 10 I liked my babysitter. I stayed up later, after reasoning with him on bedtime, and tried to act all cool and teenager Y. Which included things like sunglasses, lounging around apathetically, and generally acting independent, saying that I could go places on my own. Had many ex-boyfriends. etc. Told her how I feel. Fell hard for a guy in high school but he lived far away from me. Talking with him and found out he has a scar he is ashamed of, like would never take off his shirt for pretty much his whole life kind of deal. I used a black marker and highlighted all of the scars on my body and took some pictures and wrote him a letter that said, "We all have scars. It doesn't make you any less handsome." Must have worked. We're married now. First grade. Tried the helicopter tactic. Got a 3-day suspension. Mine is short and sweet. When I was in kindergarten I told a boy of ambiguous ethnic blend that I had a crayon the color of his face. It wasn't as flattering as I expected it to be and we never spoke again. I still see him around sometimes. He remembers. I lied about the color of my eyelashes to impress a girl. Not a long story. I was sitting in the library at my college, reading a book they just got in about particle physics, my major. I'm chillin', minding my own business. And this very cute girl sits down across from me. I panic. And so I start to shift the book back over the lip of the table to make the cover visible. Though I make it look like I'm just getting more comfortable. She looks up. So far, my plan is working perfectly. Then she reads the title. Her eyes got wide. Looks at me and gives me the "WTF is wrong with you" face. And leaves. TLDR. Physics still not the new hotness. Give it time. Eventually. Chicks will dig physicists. And the only thing you'll have to do is look at them. Particle physics gives me a hadron. Girl was studying in dorm common area. Drunk and fool me decides his presence is needed. I'm told my impression of Gollum made an appearance. Somehow. I had an insane crush on this beautiful red-headed girl in college. I could barely talk when I was around her but the few times I was with her she would tell me about how Valentine's Day was coming up and her boyfriend said he wasn't interested in spending it with her. I went into the city and spent an hour looking around for something to get her when I finally decided on some silly wristband thing. It took me 3 days to get the courage to give it to her. She was grateful I did it and everything but a day later she was back with her boyfriend. Are they still dating? I seductively asked a guy who was eating a lollipop if I could lick his lollipop. He thought I was weird and ended up dating my best friend. I'm not sure if this counts but I was walking around with a group of friends with my crush and decided to walk ahead of her to try to do something and that's when she zapped me. Tickled me by poking 2 fingers above my waist, and I farted. Dot. Sounds like your plan backfired. I told my friends. Seriously. In middle school. My one friend knew that if she said his name I would blush. And one day in the cafeteria she said it multiple times. Quite loudly. While he was sitting at the next table. He heard. And it was quite embarrassing. Especially as a middle schooler. Those years sucked ass ma. Ah. Poor piggy. Oh god. I worked as a counselor at this summer camp in June for about a month. And this year, there was a very attractive new climbing instructor. He was a hot topic among the other lady counselors. We had a staff orientation before the actual camp started where they held a cookout at this farm. And the climbing instructor happened to be passing out the cheese. And I thought to myself, oh. This is my chance. I'm going to impress him and be really funny. Then I go up to him with a totally straight face and say cheese me. There was no reaction. Not even a smile. Only confusion. And then he finally said cheese please. So I just nodded in shame and accepted my cheese. He asked for my name. And I gave him my real one. Which I shouldn't have. Because he probably remembers me as that girl who asked him to cheese her. TL. I talked to a girl once. Your mom or your therapist? You've gotten farther than I have. Semicolon. Semicolon. In about 4th grade. Our entire class was obsessed with play fighting in the snow. One recess. A girl that I had a crush on decided to join in with the boys and I being a yellow belt at jujitsu decided to show off my new throw on her. Little did I know she had some sort of brittle bone disorder. She walked with crutches for months and left the school the year later. So, I was in math class earlier this year. And we grouped up in groups of 3 and we had to present something. Forgot what it was. Well, it was me. Someone else. And my crush. I'll call her Jamie. Well, I was talking and explaining how something worked. When my teacher asks me a question I didn't know. So, I turned to my crush. And I thought I said, hey, Jamie. Take it away. As in, tell your answer for this. Instead, I actually said, hey, Jamie. Take it off. As loud as I could. The whole class heard it. After I said it, I realized what I said. And my face lit up like a light. My eyes shifted to the ground. And I just facepalmed quite hard at my own stupidity. I was wearing sky-high heels and a mini skirt for a date. Focusing so hard on walking in the stupid shoes that I smacked face first into a tree, exposing my cute little thong for all to see. My date was amused and very chivalrous when helping me up. My date is also my husband-to-be. So I worked out. But he tells this story to everyone. I once walked into a tree while falling for a girl. Granted, we had just started dating. And she never saw it. But all her friends told her. We had parted ways after school. And I turned around to head to my car the opposite way from hers. I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings. Obviously. And as I turned around I walked right into a full-grown tree the same size as me. No one said anything. So I just continued on my way, too love-struck to really care. Approximately grade 2 or 3. I randomly give a girl I liked $100 in cash to impress her. I could really use that $100. Where the fuck did you find that kind of loot as an 8-year-old? I used to know a girl who was 19 at the time that would tell guys she only sh*t once a month to try to sound more ladylike. Edit. I had a restraining order against her. When you are friendly with a girl and you begin to fall for her, never choose a pausing conversation to lean over and smell her hair. Never. When I was younger, all the popular girls were ditzy and kinda dumb. So I thought, if I wanted a guy to like me, I'd act that way. I went out on a date and dumbed myself down. I felt stupid and embarrassing because it wasn't me and that guy was so not into the airhead act. You girls, please, if you're intelligent, don't try to hide it. I told her I was gay for Han Solo. Awkward silence. How do you know if IT worked? Are you dating? Married? That sweet old couple. I must know. 4th grade. I stole all of my sister's jewelry and gave it to a blonde-haired blue-dyed girl. She refused my offer. And I went home and put it all back in her jewelry box. Every time I saw my sister wearing jewelry, it reminded me of my rejection. I suppose it's for the best. The blonde-haired girl grew up to be a very prudish, boring person. This pains me to even remember. I was so pathetic. I had always been one of those nerdy kids that just got stuff right away and did everything last minute because I could. So in college, I took this engineering course with one of my friends that I had a crush on. I was one of those guys that thought if I just help a girl with her homework and do whatever I could to bend over backwards for her, she'd appreciate me and fall for me. Well, in this class, we were assigned homework every class. And for the only time in my life, I did every single homework assignment the day it was assigned in order to help her with it. I ask her out a few months later, and obviously she says no. She ends up dating one of my roommates who was another guy that was in our friend circle a few weeks later. God, I was such a beta. I've learned my lesson. Never again. Whatever. I got one of like 5 as even though it was unrelated to my field of engineering. TL. DR. Helping girls with homework doesn't get you laid. Well, I once sort of fell for a girl who was into extreme metal. So I started to put on black lipstick and nail polish and listening to Behemoth and stuff to try to get closer to her. Didn't work. But the joke's on her, I'm still headbanging like a moth FK. Although I have ditched the lipstick and nail polish. Well, mostly. Anyway. I once did the roughly 36 kilometers religious walk because of my girlfriend. Worst part was that at that time I was an atheist. I almost joined a stitch and bitch bar knitting group with a girl I'd just barely started dating many years ago. Shut up. The girl I liked was into emo screamo music. I started dressing emo and started listening to the songs she likes. We even went to concerts together. There were mosh pits. I almost peed my pants. I was too much of a coward to tell her that I like her. She friend-zoned me too hard that she told me about her sex life.